So I wasn't too sure about what was going on there. Anyway, keeping it simple. I was talking about responses and reactions to trauma, and they will be reactions rather than proactions, or and in some instances there may have been overreactions to a traumatic event. And my new normal is a response to me acclimatizing, creatively adjusting, adapting to the situation that's been created from the trauma. Hence, I'm calling it a new normal. Now, it's a new normal within a traumatic experience as I'm going through it. You can't deal with trauma whilst you're in it. You have to get through it. What I noticed about a week and a half ago was that, and I may have posted this already, so forgive me if I have, is that I noticed that, or one of the ways in which I knew that I had adjusted and or adapted to the guidelines that I've been presented with, which were encouraging degrees of self-isolation and social distancing, was that I've adapted to working, earning a living in that way. And now using terms like the new normal to account for here and now experiences. Here and now experiences that are connected to the trauma that I've experienced, that we've all experienced. I'm not accepting this situation, the ways in which I've adapted and creatively adjusted, as my new normal, because it is a response to trauma. I could go a few steps further than that as a reaction to trauma. Some of the things that I've been asked to do, because I believe that they're antithetical to me as a human being, and I've been asked to do things and behave in ways that are antithetical to me as a human being, that is tantamount to abuse. Yeah, and for me, abuse is something when there's an experience that you're having that is not to your liking, and it's ongoing and enduring. Yeah, as something that's not necessarily good from one's emotional, relational, and psychological well-being. And that experience that is not good for your emotional, relational, and psychological well-being is ongoing. So for me, that equals abuse. So I feel like I'm in an abusive situation. I'm not in an abusive relationship. I'm in an abusive relationship with those people that have issued guidelines. Why? Because the things that I'm being asked to do affect my emotional, relational, and psychological well-being and functioning, and not in a way that is healthy for me. I'm doing okay. And am I exaggerating? I do not want to underestimate the significance of this lockdown. And I don't want to underestimate the reasons for the lockdown. A few posts ago, I've been talking about contracting and assessments, and I've been talking in terms of knowing the rules of engagement that are linked to the contract that you are is under consideration, or that is that you are thinking of undertaking. Okay, I don't want to. I've tried the relationship with the new normal. Don't like it. It's not for me. It doesn't suit me. So what I've been encouraging people to do, what I'm encouraging myself to do, what I've been thinking about, what I've been ruminating on, is I accept that this is a new normal. This is the way that I've managed to cope with, adjust to, and adapt to this situation. So I'm accepting that as my new normal. That's what I've done. I also accept that the old normal wasn't great either. Yeah, and actually the old normal is a consequence. So the new normal is a consequence of the old normal. The two are inextricably linked. Okay, so I've started to think about an ideal normal. I like the sound of that. My ideal. What do I want my life, my future, the world to look like as an ideal normal? Not a new normal, not Boris's normal. Not Donald's normal either, but my normal, my family's normal, my tribe's normal. What do we want? Because I think we all agree that we don't like this normal. The new normal sucks, really, really, really does. And it's really going to get sucky in a bit when we see the consequences, the impacts, the implications of this lockdown and of COVID-19. I don't think COVID-19, the infection, the virus, is going to cause as much damage as the impacts of being locked down. The impacts of doing those things that are antithetical to at least me as a human being. And I'm saying, as a psychotherapist, it has to be antithetical to all human beings. We're not designed for this. We can adapt and we can adjust. Our history shows this. We've adapted to some serious stuff in the course of history. Okay? Now, some serious stuff. I can think of holocausts, and there's been more than one. Many more than one. Yeah? And it's not just 6 million people that have been lost in one. There's 120 in one over there in North America. Over 100 million, I think it was 90 million in the Second World War that were considered of Russian descent. That was considered a Holocaust. What happened to the Aboriginals in Australia? Absolutely is an Holocaust, and it's ongoing, some of these things. What's going on in Palestine is also a Holocaust. So, and that's what I mean by the old normal. The stuff that I've just spoken about was part of the old normal, and that's why I say the old normal also sucks, but the old normal is responsible is a contributing factor to the new normal. And I wanted to think about an ideal normal rather than the new, because I don't think we can go back to what was before. I was going to say before 9/11, but 12 weeks ago, 11 weeks ago, because that's not working. That didn't work, and as I say, it's led to this. New normal sucks. So we need to imagine, we need to envision something greater than what the new normal is. I cannot accept some of the things that, or some of the ideas, some of the things that have been purported as how the new normal can be, how it's going to be. What I have in mind doesn't quite fit, but I think it's a time where we can fashion our futures, our ideals, to one that suits us as human beings. Yeah, very much so, and I think it needs to be couched like that because it's about us in the first place. So, old normal, new normal, ideal normal. Appreciate what was in the old normal. Remember, reminisce, reflect, and rejoice. Put that in the previous posting. Reflect, reminisce, review, and rejoice about the old normal. And those things that are relevant from the old normal that will help us to, I'm going to use the word, 2 words, endure and survive the new normal. But also they are preparation for our ideal normal, the future, what we're going to have in it. Because I'm not saying throw out the baby with the bathwater with the old normal. There's a lot of things that suck, i.e. democracy, capitalism. They really do suck. They don't work. It's quite apparent. It's very, very apparent. Democracy, capitalism, and what we've called Western civilization. And I'm not throwing it all out. I think there's some good stuff in there. But principally, in terms of Western philosophy and Western thinking, again, we have no choice but to sort of say this is where it's led us to. 2,000 years down the line, and we're in lockdown. As a concept, as a project, Western civilization, capitalism and democracy, if this is the best that we can do, I don't like it. And if this is what it helps to create as this new normal, would I rather be back in Greek, Roman times? No, not really, because that wasn't great either by the sounds of things. But we need to think of something new, something different. That doesn't lead towards this. That isn't pessimistic. That isn't nihilistic. That isn't. It encourages healthy relating and relationships, not just with self and with other, but with our environment also, and with the universe, if you're so inclined. With spirituality, it needs to encompass all of these things in a life-affirming, life-encouraging way. I don't see that as part of our history, and I don't see that part of the old normal, and I don't see that as part of the new normal. It's not about. You can't have 12 weeks of a lockdown worldwide and hardly hear anything to do with people's mental health or the impact that this lockdown is going to have on people's mental health. It's astonishing, you know. And it's not just about the lockdown; it's the consequences of the lockdown. People have lost jobs, you know. Hopes, fears, aspirations have been dashed. All these things are going to have an impact on mental health, both positively and negatively. But I'm just saying they're going to have an impact. And I don't see much in the way of services for this. I don't see how, you know, this thing that I've paid into for all of my working life and before actually, national insurance contributions have gone into an NHS that now I recognise the main interest in the NHS is about profit over services, over people. You know, that's why we're in this pickle. That's why the NHS is in the mess. I think that's why the world is in the mess that it's in, because we've chosen profit over people. So, you know, and I'm not saying that's the basis of Western democracy, but it's intrinsic part of it. Capitalism is a strong part of it. Tried the socialism thing, didn't like that. Tried the communist thing, didn't like that. We don't really like the fascism thing, really. It seems, but there's a lot of what's going on at the moment could be couched in those terms, because rights have been not being talked about. You know, what's been infringed, you know, in the name of safety for us, and it's all been a bit confusing. This new normal is not. It's more confusing than anything, and I think, you know, that's not the way things. As human beings, we don't like confusion. We like to know where we are. We like stability. We like as much certainty as we can get, and we've had none for the last 12 weeks, apart from the certainty that, well, the certainty or the threat. Then we've been living under threat. The threat that if you go out, you're going to get fined. If you go out when you're not supposed to go out for more than your hour, and even if someone thinks that you've been out for more than your hour, if somebody, then there is the threat that you could be stopped, ask questions by complete strangers, and potentially get a fine. For something that is not of our making. Why would you? And then to find out actually that a lot of the people that have had fines, a lot of the people that have been arrested during the lockdown, to find out that actually they're unlawful. The fines are unlawful and the arrests are unlawful. So people are behaving badly based upon guidelines, and that's not good if we've created that kind of situation where it's based upon fear And we're asking people to, or what seems to be happening is that people are being asked to tell on another. You know, that's the kind of thing that used to be around in Eastern Germany when I was growing up as a child and as an adult, just before the wall came down. That's how we were told about the regimes that were in Eastern Europe and in South America, and some South American countries, and some African countries too. Lockdowns, curfews, get told dusk till dusk, can't come out of your house. This is stuff that I used to read about in newspapers, you know, on Sunday mornings about in other places. This is the kind of thing that is happening to us right now. I don't want it as part of my new normal. I don't want other people to be reading about the country that I'm in as being on a lockdown, on a curfew, social distancing. What is tantamount to the phrase that I'm looking for is practically house arrest. Actually, the truth be known. And on top of that all of these things are infringing our civil liberties and our rights under the Magna Carta and the Bill of Rights also, but also common law, which all of the UK, maybe with the exception of Scotland actually, and Southern Ireland for definite, but all of the UK are subject to, and all of the Commonwealth countries too, are subject to common law. And one of those principles is the right to be seen as innocent until proven otherwise. Being told that we can't walk across highways and things and fields, and these are public walkways, and no one has the right to tell us not to do that. We have that right under common law, under the Magna Carta. So in some ways, some of the things that we've been asked to do and some of the legislation that's been taken to make it is illegal and unlawful. But I may say more about that at a later time. Now, so just to recap, I'm talking about reviewing, reflecting, reminiscing, rejoicing, old normal, so that we can bring the best of the old normal to help us to survive and endure and survive the new normal. Out of that, when we get moments, is to imagine, to envision what we want our ideal normal to be. How do we want to be living this thing that we called life on this place that we called Earth? How do we want people like Boris to be talking to us and his mates? How very rude that Mr. Cummings man is. How rude they all seem to be, asking us to do one thing but behaving in complete. How are we supposed to take these people seriously? I'm finding it really, really difficult. It almost feels as though they know something that I don't. Because I'm sat here, sort of social distancing, going a little bit further than most, maybe. And now I'm beginning to feel a bit ridiculous about it. People bombing, and then people are telling me about I've only drove that far because just to see how healthy my eyes are. So my eyes are still working. Yeah, I'll try that. Dear me. Have a great rest of the day, and I hope to be speaking to you soon. Sorry, the shirt. It's nice, isn't it? I like it. Till the next time. Bye-bye now.